Welcome to session 2 of Better Conversations. In this session, I'm going to introduce you to 6 foundational beliefs about communication, and I'm going to provide you with some prompts, questions, and activities to guide you as you thoughtfully decide what ideas drive the way that you communicate. Here's the thing though, we are not slaves to our beliefs. We get to choose them. But to do so, we must surface our current beliefs and then consider what alternative beliefs might better describe who we are and who we want to be. This brings us to belief number 0. When we think about conversations, our schools are only as good as the conversations within them. And communication is central to what we do inside schools. You can walk into just about any building at any time and listen to how teachers talk to students, how teachers talk to each other, how administrators talk to teachers and students, and you can get a pretty good feel about the culture of a building just by listening to those conversations. But really, everything in life has to do with conversations. What brings us the most pain and often the most joy involves some type of communication. We should be energized and engaged by our conversations, not diminished by them. We can control our part, our role in those conversations, and that is what we can reflect on today when reflecting on our beliefs. This brings us to our first belief to better conversations. I see conversation partners as equals. The alternative to a top-down conversation is a conversation grounded in equality. Conversations where you can bring your full humanity to the conversation. All of your ideas, passions, emotions, and confusions, and where you expect and want your conversation partner to do the same. During this type of conversation, you see the people who you are interacting with as people who should be valued, whose opinions matter, who can think for themselves, and who make their own decisions. And when you see others as equals, you see them as having the same value as you. And if you work from that principle of equality, others should never feel that you see yourself superior to them. When this is achieved, people walk away from your conversations feeling valued. Their opinions matter, and you've drawn on their knowledge and their expertise. Belief number 2, I want to hear what other people have to say. Mary Lou Casey has this great quote, what people really need is a good listening to. Even then, there's this huge difference between listening and hearing. People want to be heard, and too often in our conversations, they are not. Think about this. At work, do my opinions seem to count? How many times has a complaint stemmed from answering no to that question? I want to share with you a study that was done by Shane Lopez. He did a study on employee engagement, which pertains directly to teachers. He surveyed hundreds of occupations, from doctors, lawyers, teachers, waitresses, construction workers, cab drivers, hundreds of occupations. Out of all of those occupations, teachers came in dead last. They were least likely to say, at work, my opinion seems to count. Teachers don't feel like they have a voice. When you think about your conversations, both personally and professionally, especially the ones that you may have coming up, are you allowing others to do most of the talking? How much are you talking versus how much are you listening? And are you fully present in your conversation? Belief number 3, I believe people should have a lot of autonomy. In 2003, according to the US Department of Education, teachers believed that they had a lot of autonomy, high degrees of decision making with regard to what and how they were teaching, and it dropped a lot over the years that followed. So when we think about giving people autonomy, what are we afraid of? For me, I can admit that it is probably control. If I give up autonomy as a parent, I lose control. What if my kids make the wrong decisions? What if they make decisions that I don't agree with? But we know, adult to adult, the surest way to get someone to resist is to be told what to do. We all tend to resist things when people come down at us with a top-down approach. People want to feel like they have some sense of voice and some choice and a sense of purpose. Belief number 4, I don't judge others. I believe this, but sometimes I struggle to live it. So if people say they don't judge, they are probably lying because subconsciously, when meeting someone for the first time, our mirror neurons start to judge them based on their physical presentation. We tend to categorize people based on a number of categories. I know that if you cut me off on the highway, I'm going to judge you pretty quickly, probably using a variety of four-letter words. We all do it. It's hard not to. But we know that judgment is a conversation killer. It stifles conversations. It is not our differences that divide us, it's our judgments about each other. There are ways we roll our eyes without actually rolling our eyes. People know when they're being judged. They feel when they're being judged. Do you listen without making assumptions first? Do you avoid giving unsolicited advice? Do you seek the opinions of others out first? Belief number 5, conversations should be back and forth. When we think about our conversations, do we have dialogue or do we have monologue? Is it more me and less we, or less us and less you? Belief number 6, conversations should be life giving. This is the one that is the most important, as cliche as it sounds, because the opposite of this would be life sucking. When people think they're being judged compared to others, being told what to do, when we avoid conversations or label others, these things alienate people in conversations rather than giving us life and inspiring us. Life giving conversations increase our well being, they leave us with more energy rather than less, and they protect our self esteem. You leave these kinds of conversations knowing more about yourself, knowing more about the other person, and knowing more about the human condition. Remember, beliefs are complex. Your perspective may not align with any of these beliefs 100%, and that is okay. It is more important that you're honest with yourself and thoughtfully consider what your beliefs are. Because if you don't agree with one of the beliefs, that means that you have another belief living in its stead. Remember this quote from Maya Angelou: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Looking ahead, our next video will cover the first of our Better Conversations habits, demonstrating and listening with empathy.